Hello, welcome to Seed Yoga Therapy's YouTube channel. Today I'm going to share an embodiment practice that can be supportive of settling the nervous system. And we're going to focus on two specific things. So one is we're going to focus on repetitive and rhythmic movement, which can be calming to the nervous system because it gives the nervous system a sense of predictability and knowing what's coming next, which trauma is quite the opposite. It's unpredictable, it's chaotic, it can kind of come out of nowhere. Um, and giving the nervous system something that can be steady, predictable, it knows what's coming next, can be have a balm to the nervous system. The other thing we're going to focus on is our senses, and the mind can pull us into many different directions. Some beautiful directions, some really painful directions. And when the mind gets stuck in either the what if stories, what if this happens, what if this happens, what if that happens, typically what happens is those what if stories aren't like, what if this amazing thing is going to happen? Generally, those what if stories are, what if this terrible thing happens or this terrible thing happens? And that's just the nervous system again trying to protect us in preparation for this or this or that. So it's not bad. And we can also train the nervous system to notice, okay, those things might happen. And preparation is not a bad thing either. And what's actually happening in reality. And that's where our senses can come into anchoring us into what is instead of what if. So those are the two practices that we'll focus on today. So with the movement, you can do it sitting, standing, lying down, or walking. I'll do it sitting and standing today, but then just know that you can adjust if you're feeling like you want to be in a different position. So you can be in a chair, you can be on the floor, you can be in any position that feels the best for your body. So we're going to start with our hands either on our legs or on the floor if you're lying down, or by your sides if you're standing. And we're just going to take one hand and lift it up, and then you'll bring it back down. And then you'll do the other hand. Bring it up and bring it back down. And you're going to find your own rhythm and pace with this. So for some people, it might feel nice to move with the breath. As you inhale, the hand lifts. As you exhale, the hand comes down. For other people, pairing the breath up with the movement feels agitating. It's too much thinking, it impacts the breath. And so you find what's going to work best for you. So if you like inhaling up, exhaling down, go with that. If you find that that's not working for you, let that aspect go and either find a rhythm that feels the best. And that could change. It might go faster, it might go slower than me, which is completely fine. Or you might count. You might lift to a count of 4 and lower to a count of 4. So, like with any tool of resourcing or supporting our nervous system, each person is very unique and individual in how and what is going to be the most settling and anchoring for their nervous system. So I'm going to give you a few different ways to experiment with these and find the one that works best for you, which might be different tomorrow and next week. So we'll do 2 more on each side. And the next time your hand comes down, we'll pause. And then we're going to notice what is. So we'll do that through our sense of sight. And so take a look around your space and notice 3 things you see. And maybe something you haven't really noticed today yet. So, like in my space, I notice my Christmas cactus is kind of reaching towards the center of the room. And I notice some wind moving through the trees outside my window. And I notice three very distinct different greens in the trees outside. So notice three things you're aware of. And then we're going to move to the head. So you're going to turn your head to one side, and then you're going to turn your head to the other side. Now, when we're moving the head like this, you're going to try to find a pain-free range of motion. So this isn't about getting a big stretch. This isn't about finding a lot of sensation, but more predictability and consistency with the movement. If you have neck pain today, find a range that doesn't exacerbate that pain at all. So it might be a very small movement. It could even be a movement that you imagine, but you don't actually do. Or it could be a bigger movement. And then same thing as with the hands. So if you want to pair it with your breath, that is working for you today, you can inhale one direction and exhale the other direction. Or you can count, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 in one direction, and then that same number in the other direction. Great. And then the next time you come through the middle, we'll pause. And now bring your awareness into your sense of hearing and see if you can identify 3 sounds you hear. I hear the wind outside my window. I hear my voice. And I just heard my stomach growl because it's almost dinner time. And so I'm going to come up to standing now, and you can do this standing, or you can continue to do it lying down. And if you want to sit, you're just going to bring your feet so they're flat on the floor. So as you're standing, you're going to have your feet about outer hip width apart. So you've got some space between your feet. You can even make them wider, which is completely fine too. You just don't want to make them so wide that you kind of feel like you're off balance. Just find a stable stance. And then as you inhale, you're going to shift into one foot. And then as you exhale, you'll shift into the other foot. So you're just going back and forth, one foot to the other, either with your breath, with a rhythm that feels right in this moment, or with counting. If you want a little bit more and you're standing, as you inhale, as you shift to one foot, you can take one foot off the mat. And then bring it down, shift into the other foot, and bring that foot off the mat. Either one is totally fine. One can bring in a little more attention and focus, but can also be wobbly. And the other can be more stable. So you can try both and see what works for you today. And we'll take 2 more on each side. Eventually you'll come back to the middle. And notice now focusing on our sense of feeling. So we can do this in two different directions. We can notice what we feel internally, and we can notice what we feel externally. And so if your internal state feels agitated or aggravated or triggered, I would suggest seeing if you can notice three things you feel externally. So for me, that could be the warmth of the air on my skin, the fabric of my shirt on my stomach, and my arms moving against my pant legs. Now, if you're feeling more internally kind of steady and relaxed and at ease, it can be great to actually go towards that sensation and to notice what that feels like. So for me, there's a softness in my shoulders. There's a little bit of like a pleasant hunger, and there's a there's kind of a quietness but warmth in my legs from moving. So notice three things you feel inside or out. And so now, after moving through this way and orienting to our senses, let's bring your awareness to what you're noticing from this short practice. What do you notice in your body? What do you notice in your breath? What do you notice in your mind? How do you feel compared to when you started the practice? You might notice a difference, you might not. And then if you had anything that you were aware of that you noticed from the practice, I'd love to hear. So drop a comment below. Subscribe to this channel for more talks, movement practices, meditations on the intersections of yoga and mental health and yoga therapy. And thanks so much for being here.